The seller is not a foreign person. Okay? And if he is, he cannot sign this form. It's simple as that. If he is a foreign person, he cannot sign this form. And you have to return it unsigned to the escrow officer, which gives you an indication that he is a foreign person and gives the escrow holder an indication that he is a foreign person. If he has a TIN number, can he sign? No. Unfortunately, a TIN number, a tax identification number, does not mean that he is a non-foreigner. It just means that he has a tax identification number. He is still a foreigner. So, let me caution you on one thing. When you have a tax ID number that starts with a 9, like a 9999, this does not mean this is a social security number. You need to be aware of that. When you go in and you help the escrow officer sign on all those forms, and you see the seller with a 9 starting account, it is a good indication that he may not be permanent resident. Okay. Now, whose responsibility, and this is the hard part, whose responsibility is it for the FERPTA? It is the buyer's responsibility. Yay, it's not us escrows. It's actually the withholding agent is supposed to be the buyer, your buyer. So, if this gentleman, the foreigner, closes the escrow, it is the buyer's responsibility to hold 10% of the sales price. 10% of the sales price. That sale price is $1,250,000. How much gets withheld? Do the math. It is the buyer's responsibility. And of course, we as the escrow officer who are more aware of these rules and regulations are the ones who actually will go ahead and take it and send out with the forms to the IRS. But, you know, if we don't do it correctly, it is the buyer who will be liable for the withholding. Please remember that. That is why I told somebody in the beginning, I think it was Priscilla, it is important that you think, oh, this is just for seller's agents. No, this is for buyer's agents and for seller's agents, because sooner or later you will be handling one or the other side. Okay, now, the TIN number is very important. We need it to complete the withholding. And if there is no TIN number, then you are going to be under a little bit of a problem. By the way, I want to go back and tell you about a case that I had. We're talking about the buyer's responsibility. I want to go back a little. I had a case in my office in which we sent the paperwork and the 10% to the IRS for the buyer. $31,500 was the withholding. It was sent out to the IRS, and then about 6 months later, my buyer calls me up frantic. I got a form from the IRS. They say I owe $6,500 some dollars. What the heck is this? So we looked into it, and we realized that it was a penalty that was assessed by my buyer because of that 10% withholding that we did for her. What happened was this. The $31,500 was sent to the IRS, but we did not send it registered mail. That check floated around in the IRS for 4 months. Okay? For 4 months, and they finally found it, credited to the account. But by that time, the penalty had already been set. So when they got this, we looked into it. We did not send it in registered mail. Trust me. Right now, this is what I tell all my escrow officers in my office and wherever I go and talk. Send it registered mail. Because I had no proof. So we ended up paying for this buyer $6,500 some dollars to take care of it. Did I tell you? I paid my dues. Been there, done that, ouch. So, I am talking about the buyer's responsibilities and how easy it is for everybody to get caught up in this. The most important thing, let me go back to now the tax ID number, is for your seller to have a tax ID number. If you have a tax ID number, then I can actually do the 10% withholding. If you don't even have a tax ID number for the seller, I can't even do that. And the reason for that is because where's the IRS going to put the money? Huh? So, if you have a seller who tells you that they don't have a tax ID number, you're going to have to start on this very soon. Go to the IRS and use that W-7 form. Better yet, get a CPA who knows what they're doing, and they will issue it and get it for you. I had an escrow in which I had two sellers. Nice little piece of land in Los Angeles. Two sellers. One was an 85-year-old lady from Hong Kong. She lives in Hong Kong. And the other one, by the way, all that is in my, all the stuff that I have here is in my handout, so you can look through your handout at your leisure. My 85-year-old is in Hong Kong. Her niece lived in the United States, was a U.S. citizen. When I opened the escrow, it says 14-day escrow, all cash. I said, oh, yay! I didn't realize that the aunt in Hong Kong didn't have a tax ID number. So my niece, seller, frantically goes around trying to get it for her. This escrow turned from a 14-day escrow to an over 3-month escrow. I lost 2 buyers because getting a tax ID number is not that simple. It is not that simple. For one thing, you need to be sure you have a good CPA. And for the other thing, did you know that in order for you to get a tax ID number, you need the original passport of the person? Wow. You have to let them, you have to give the IRS an original passport. So here is my girl, my niece, who had to get the passport shipped over. Hope it doesn't get lost in the IRS, and we all know how the IRS works, to get the tax ID number. There's another way of doing it, and is you go to a local IRS office that has a certified acceptance, I think they call it a certified acceptance agent. Not all of them have it. That person from the IRS, works for the IRS, will look at the original, make a copy, and certify it. Then you can have the passport back. So, knowing that, I also had another case. And this one just closed recently, very happily. Found out the seller was not a resident, a foreigner. And this is a month before we closed escrow. Got a CPA working on it. We got it in 1 month, the tax ID number. We were able to close escrow. It was wonderful. Considering it was 980,000 transactions, we were very, very happy. But these are things that happen that I want to let you know. Getting a tax ID number is very, very important. Now, you're going to ask me, you know, Juliana, this escrow office down the street, they'll just say, no problem, close the escrow, just send the money to the IRS. It's not a problem. Okay, let me tell you something. Sure, I'll do it for you. I will close the escrow. I'll hold the 10% to the state of California, to the IRS, and the 3.33 to the state of California. However, they have to understand that the IRS is not going to do anything with the money. They'll put it in a suspense account. They'll send the seller a form, and it's called a 3794 SC or something like that. This form. They'll send it to the seller at their last known address, and God forbid that the seller has already gone back to his place. And they will tell him, if you don't get the tax ID number, you can't claim this money. Okay? So, will I close the escrow? Sure I will. But this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to let you guys know this. I will do an amendment. And on the amendment, I will say, very simply, first, the seller is aware that they are not gonna get credit for this amount, and they